I'm going to tell you why it is that we need to sabotage the sabotage. So I'll see you back here in a minute. How do we end up feeling if we say to ourselves, I am self-sabotaging? And if we believe that, pretty rubbish, right? I see this again and again and again. I hear this again and again with my clients. I am self-sabotaging. And what goes with that for all of us is this sense of helplessness, feeling out of control, becoming scared of ourselves, and this sense of conflict that we don't have any control or power over what it is that we're wanting to do. So I appreciate that out there in the personal development world and out there in the therapeutic world, this term of phrase has become very well used. And I expect that it started out for good reason, just to explain the consequences of what I'm about to explain comes before it. But over time, this label has become so disempowering for us. And for the majority of people that I'm seeing, they end up with this real sense of being against themselves rather than being able to work with themselves. So when people are stuck, overwhelmed, stress, not achieving what it is that they want to achieve, having unwanted responses to other people or towards themselves, they end up beating themselves up and feeling ashamed and feeling guilty, feeling completely out of control. And bit by bit, that spirals into a real sense of helplessness and frustration. So please, let's scrap this idea of sabotaging. All that is going on, and I say all, I understand that when we are doing this thing that the label is self-sabotage, that it can lead to some really destructive consequences and it can lead to some destructive behaviors. But here's the thing, we are not, none of us, no part of us is purposely, intentfully out to completely and utterly destruct ourselves, to destroy ourselves, to sabotage ourselves. And the thing is, people end up with this sense of, well, there must be this part of me, this entity, this separate entity that I have no control over, that is against me, that is out to just destroy everything in my wake. It doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't get us anywhere nearer where it is that we're trying to go. It doesn't help us take that next step forward, even if we're coming up against a bit of fear. And all that is going on is, yes, there is a part of us. Take that literally or metaphorically, or think of it in terms of a part of our brain that is kicking in a moment, either because it gets triggered by something that's happened in the past and our past experiences, or it's just that in the moment, in the here and now, we've got a little bit of a sense of opposition going on. And what is happening is that part of us, however it is that we want to think about it, has just got a conflicting need or a conflicting driving force for us. That part of us that is stopping us from doing something, or that is, in our view, sabotaging it, ruining our results, destroying things, it's operating out of a need to get met, or it's operating out of emotion that we're perhaps trying to avoid, that we're fearful of, that is getting in the way of us actually getting the results and the consequences that we want. So, for example, one of the classic is sometimes how we can function in relationships where things are going well, and then a younger sense of us, a younger part of us, an old historic response that we've got through something that's happened in our past kicks in and goes, this is feeling too comfortable, too safe. And actually, therefore, perhaps it's feeling unsafe to us because we're scared. We're scared of that commitment. We're scared of where that may go. So what do we do? What does that part of us cause us to do in terms of how we behave and how we respond? Even though we've got a sense of us in the here and now going, I want this. This is absolutely what I'm desiring, what I've been craving for. This other part of us, this younger part that has got an old response or a fear attached to it, starts kicking in because it's more powerful. Because the idea, that emotion of fear or avoidance, that anxiety of perhaps something that we're truly scared of, is far more powerful in that moment of getting away from it therefore ruining things, than actually what it is that we're desiring and craving and needing and really wanting in that moment. So it's just opposing parts of us. On a more day-to-day basis, another example is perhaps part of us might want to go down to the gym. But there's another part of us that we're sabotaging ourselves by wanting to be on the sofa. Well, actually, what is that all about? It's just that those opposing parts of us, they have different agendas for us. They have opposing agendas for us. They have different intentions and different needs that they're trying to fulfill. And when we think of it as sabotaging ourselves, what does it do? It causes more friction between those different elements of us, those different agendas, those opposing parts. And over time, it creates more of a sense of disalignment or conflict within ourselves. And we feel like we're pushing against and working against ourselves. So ditch the sabotage. Just think of it as conflicting needs, conflicting emotions. Maybe a younger part of us is still caught up in fear or caught up in anxiety. And if we show up for ourselves in that moment more, rather than working against ourselves, if we work for and with ourselves, and just try and understand what's the differences that are going on. What are the opposing parts? What are the opposing needs? They are both still valid. It's just that one of them perhaps is out of date. And if we're pushing against that, if we're seeing it as this separate entity that's just coming in and wanting to destroy and backstab and sabotage absolutely everything, rather than a response from a younger part of us that most likely needs a bit of an arm around it, a bit of reassurance, a bit of us that is here in the here and now, showing up and going, you know what? We can do this. We can handle this. It's safe. We're okay. We've got this. We can figure it out. We're going to take it really, really slow. If we end up working together more and understanding what the intention is behind those different elements of us, that part of us that is sabotaging. No, it's not. It's not out to sabotage. It's just scared, or it has a more important need or value system that's kicking in that moment. What is the intention behind those opposing parts, those different agendas that are going on? The intention on some level will always be positive for us, even if the behavior itself seems really destructive or really unhelpful. It's trying to do something for us. It's trying to gain something for us. So by working with ourselves and asking ourselves, what is the positive intention behind what it is that you're trying to do for me here? That opposing part. That's when we're going to learn to understand ourselves better. And when we understand what that intention is, whether it is protection, whether it's rest, whether it's freedom, once we start understanding that, we can start working with it better, working with ourselves. If the intention is outdated because it's a younger response that's kicking in habitually, then we can start showing up for ourselves in a different way and work with ourselves. Start trying to reassure that older, younger part of us that we can find a better way of handling that now. Now, some of what I'm describing is relatively complex in terms of it may be more helpful for you to have a practitioner to work through this with. A lot of it is what's going on unconsciously behind the scenes for us. But I hope by at least understanding that whatever's going on, there is no little entity that's out there trying to sabotage things. It's just conflicting needs. It's conflicting values. It is old, outdated emotional responses that we need to learn to be able to work with and start reconditioning in a better way that's going to help us get beyond that overwhelm, those unwanted old responses, that lack of motivation. There's good reason lying behind those at the moment. And it's not because you're out to get yourself. So start asking those questions. What are the needs? What are the emotions? What is it that I'm trying to do for myself on some level with those opposing parts? Start getting more curious with yourself. Start becoming more compassionate and understanding towards yourself. Ditch the sabotage. It's just opposing parts that want the best for you, but perhaps they're outdated. I hope that's helpful. And give me a shout if I can be of any more help for you. And of course, if this has been helpful and you want to hang out for more tips on self-esteem, self-talk, phobias, trauma, anxiety, overwhelm, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button.